Okay, so what I'm going to talk about now is about VA training and development and how important that is to do that for your team. And you need to really think about your team as people that work with you and not just people, remote workers working in wherever they are at cheap rates. Give them some mundane repetitive tasks to do and forget about them. These are the core of your business who are going to help you grow into something remarkable, and you've got to treat them as full-time employees, in my opinion, and then they will treat you and reciprocate and treat you and your company in the same way. So without further ado, training and development. What we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about the benefits for you and your employees. We're going to talk about an individual development plan, what that means for your employees and why you should do it, and about the training. Where can you find training and what the best places to go looking for and access it. So benefits. Major benefits, in my opinion, are that you free your time. And I've been totally guilty of this. And one of the reasons that I've probably spent the first 15 years of being an entrepreneur not ever getting anywhere was because I had this mindset of that I can do it myself, so therefore I will. And I went out and I've learned so much or so little about so much. It's embarrassing. I can just about program. I can just about do web development. I can just about do graphic design. I've been on lots of online courses, lots of cheap or free courses. And a lot of the time you learn enough just about make do, and then you're distracted with something else anyway because the business moves on. And by the time you've got the knowledge you needed, the opportunity's passed. So you've got to get this out of your head that yes, you probably can do it as well as anybody else. If you were a professional graphic designer, or if you were a professional web developer, or whatever it is that you're trying to do, whether it's even just learn how a new piece of software works so you can get the most out of it for your business. Whatever it is, you can either do it or you can get someone else to do it for you. And then they can either do it for you or just teach you how to do it in a really quick, succinct way. So free your time. Secondly, if you engage your staff and pay for them and encourage them to actually go and learn new stuff, then that will encourage them to stay with you because people enjoy learning new stuff. People are in the part of the brain that they want to be fed. The brain wants to be fed, I should say. And if you just let people do same mundane, repetitive tasks day in, day out, then they're going to lose interest in your company. They're going to lose interest in you because you obviously don't care about them and their well-being. So why should they care about you? And if they get a nice shiny job offer from somewhere else, they're going to bound to jump ship and go with that company rather than stick around for you and do the same repetitive tasks till the end of days. So staff engagement goes up, staff retention goes up for those reasons that I've just explained. And if you can actually fit that in with the development plan, which we're going to talk about in a second, then you give them a real incentive to stay with you because they're not only learning stuff that helps you, which increases productivity, they're learning stuff which actually they want to learn. So if you've got a graphic designer that comes on board and there's some fancy new bit of software that comes out that he thinks, I'd really love to learn that. I just haven't got time. I'm working 40 hours a week or whatever. Where do I find the time with family and everything? If you say to them, what do you want to learn? What would be your favorite thing you could possibly learn in the next year? And they then say to you, I've just seen this new bit of software. Great. As we'll talk about in a minute. If they can justify why they should learn it and how it would benefit us as a company, then why wouldn't you want them to go and spend some time doing that? So it's and then obviously they'll be incentivized to do it because it's something they enjoy, and then they can bring that increased productivity in the company because they're using the best tools and the latest knowledge. So pretty sort of basic stuff, if you like, but really essential just to get your head around and understand that, in my opinion. So individual development plan. This is something that I wish I had done earlier and wish I probably did more now. Alex is a great example of, as we discussed previously, mastermind, a case study I've done with one of our clients, a guy called Alex Impey, who basically does this really well. And the idea is that you have a sit down, a conversation with your virtual assistant, with your remote team, with your staff in the house, wherever they are, and you find out what are their interests, what are their hobbies, what do they enjoy doing outside work. Could any of that be a benefit to your company? Is there a way you can then set goals around them learning about whatever their interests are, that could then ultimately benefit you and your company, because they actually bring those skills and that knowledge to work every day. And if you may then make them accountable, so by setting those goals as SMART goals, so specific and measured and what's the other, well, I can't remember now, accessible and relevant and timed, something like that. And there's lots of ways, lots of different ways of the SMART acronym. Google SMART, SMART, for goal setting. Really useful tool for when you actually are setting goals. So you're not just saying, I'm going to learn something this year. It's, I'm going to learn X, Y, Z. I'm going to do it by the 4th of July. And the reason for doing this is this. And the benefits are X, Y, Z. And if you don't have that, then that gives you a much better path to actually doing stuff, and very focused on what your goals are, being very specific. So goals and accountability. Cool. The other thing which I actually picked up really from Alex is something that I've done myself, and I'll show you in a second what my profile is, psychometric profiling. And it's actually a massive benefit if you can get your employees to do this as well. And it sort of didn't really click with me until I actually watched a case study of one of our clients, Alex, and he then showed that he did this with all his employees. I thought, what a brilliant idea. Why don't I do that? Because what the idea of the psychometric profiling is with regards to sort of business ownership and entrepreneurship is about filling your holes. You may be brilliant at something, which probably means you're pretty rubbish at a lot of other stuff. And so this is Wealth Dynamics, and I highly recommend it. It's not free. It's between $50 and $100, depending on how many you buy in one go. But for individuals, for business owners, I think this is really worth the investment of whatever it is, $100. And if you're going to do it with your team, you can buy a bunch of tokens and then get it a bit cheaper. This is me, as you can see on here. There's these 9 different personality types, if you like. He's given them fancy names. It doesn't really matter. But the point is, as you can see on here, I'm what he terms a creator. So I come up with great ideas, but that also means that I just run away with them and I come up with the next idea and I just basically lose interest and then move on to the next one. And that's in my nature. I'm a star, so I like getting on camera and getting in front of people and meeting people. That's important to who I am. And I'm a mechanic. So I like tinkering with technology. I like systems. I like processes. So what I do in systems outsourcing is those 3 things and nothing else. And I have people in the business that then fit all these other roles. Because if you can see here, these roles just don't really exist in me. I'm none of these other things. So if I try to create a business on by myself, which I have done for 15 years of my life, what happens is I do all this stuff and none of this stuff ever gets done. And so the business just doesn't grow. The business doesn't scale because it's not got everything needed to create a strong business. So you can partner with somebody. So my business partner, Kevin, is somewhere around here on this side, who fills these voids. We have employees that then fill these areas, and we have partners which fill the areas here. So you can employ people directly, you can partner with people. So for example, you can partner with people in business terms, so you can start a business with them, or you can partner with them. So social media partner, for example, a company that runs social media marketing, partner with them, and then they can then take over part of that business, which will then fill some of these voids that you might have. So if you then think about that from a VA point of view, from an employee point of view, if you want people in the long term, there's no point in you hiring a bunch of creators if you're a creator like me, unless you're growing and expanding and you need ideas, people churning out lots of ideas. Because the problem with creators is they create work for other people. So normally you'd have one creator in a company and a load of other people basically mopping up the mess that they leave behind them. And that is, knowing that about me, knowing that about my profile and what I'm good and bad at, means that I actually don't want these people. I want these people at the bottom here to fill all the voids that I have. So hopefully that's useful. If it's not something you've seen before, hopefully that is a useful add. Yeah, Belle's just said, so Roger Hamilton, I should mention his name, so Wealth Dynamics, Roger Hamilton is the owner of Wealth Dynamics. He's got a really good video that explains this. I'm not an expert on this. I've watched the video. It is really good. I took away what I needed. The need for me was, I'm that, therefore I need that. and that's all I needed in it. But if you've never done this before, please, watch the video, go onto the website, and there's loads of information on that, and he explains this in a lot of detail. Lots of training that he offers as well, which I'm sure is really good. But I've not done much of it myself. I've just done the basic training that came along with that profile that I did. Okay, so training. So we've identified, hopefully, that it's important to get your employees on board, get them into the mindset of training, and to actually find stuff that they want to learn rather than you dictating what they're going to learn. Because ultimately, if they're not interested, they're not going to bother listening when it's on. They're not going to really enjoy learning it. And so actually, if you can fit your two needs together, that's a much, much more powerful way of actually getting them to bring value to the company by learning stuff that you need them to learn. So what are you going to learn? That's the first piece of the puzzle. And I'm just breaking my slides. So what do you need? What do you want to learn? So the employee may say to you, oh, I want to learn this, or you may have a need in the company. And the question is, if the employee comes to you and says, oh, I really want to learn something about X, Y, or Z. So say, for example, you've got someone that does front-end web development. And I say, you know what, I'm a bit rusty on SEO, service engine optimization, so getting your ranking up on Google or whatever. So I'm really rusty on that. It's something I've always wanted to learn. And you go, okay, cool. Well, why do you need to learn it? And how, by you learning it, is it going to benefit the company? And if they can answer those two things, and why, well, it'll make me better at my job because I'm a web developer and therefore it's good to learn. How will it benefit me? Well, this is how you're going to basically get more customers. And we can actually track this by saying, currently you're getting this many hits on your website. If I do some SEO from this training, we should increase it by 200%. So therefore, they've created their own the key performance indicators, KPIs. They created their own KPIs. So therefore, they can then measure their own success in actually applying the learning to your business. So therefore, that's how you can then justify the time and expense for doing it. And then the next question is, well, where are you going to learn this? And there's loads, I'm going to cover some in a second, loads of great resources online, which are really cheap or for even free for learning a huge amounts of stuff. Content is given away freely these days. We give away huge amounts of our content because it's a great way to engage with people and get them to know who you are. So there's so much stuff out there. And if not free, it's very, very cheap. Review. So the idea is that once they've done it, they've actually completed their training, they're actually going to then give you a report. So a half-page report or something nice, succinct. What did you learn? What URL to the learning material? What did you learn? What were the key points? Was it good? Was it bad? Would you recommend it? And then another really key point, I think, is who else in the company needs to know this? Do you need to know this? Do you need to do that learning? Or is there something you can see another person in the company who would benefit from this? And a really good habit to get into is not only getting to write a review, if you like, but actually to create a training task, if you like, out of that material with links to whatever they found, and even links to the stuff they rejected and the reason they rejected it. Or maybe they pulled some other resources in, or they found some extra knowledge out while they were doing the actual work themselves. And this can be a piece of work, if you like, that's added to as they start working in this role more, as they learn more. They can bring in new resources as they focus more down maybe on the actual subject that they've learned. And what that does is create a really powerful training tool so that if somebody else comes into the role, maybe that person leaves and goes, or somebody else is going to take over, or you need to expand and scale, you've then got a great training resource that you can just simply say, go and learn that. And all the hard work's done there for that person. They can then just pick it up and it's all nicely laid out and exactly really good quality stuff that's been tried and tested. So a really useful thing to get into the habit of doing. Okay, so where can you actually learn all of this stuff? There's loads of places online, obviously. These are some of the ones that I've used that I highly recommend. First port of call often is YouTube. There's so much good material out there. There's so much rubbish as well. You have to be very careful that you don't basically just waste time looking at funny cats and all the rest of it, obviously. And that is one of the problems with YouTube. Very, very distracting. One of the reasons that I don't use it for anything except for marketing, because it's accessible from so many people. Anything to do with our company templates, company operation manuals, all the videos for that, anything to do with the training program. We use Vimeo, we use Screencast-O-Matic because it's completely ad-free, and that to us is really important so people don't get distracted while they're doing stuff. However, there is loads of useful stuff on YouTube, given a bit of time to sift through the rubbish. Skillshare is a very, very cost-effective way. For something like a tenner a month, that sort of money, you can get unlimited access to all of their material, which really is cheap as chips if you're doing any amount of training. And Udemy, again, very cost effective, 10 quid a course, that sort of amount, no subscription, you just pay for courses. There may be a subscription option, I've not looked at it. But often with those courses, you get to keep them as well. So you can use them multiple times. And a bit of screen capture can help with if you don't get that option to keep them. But I don't obviously condone that. So the other three I've got here are company specific stuff. So first of all, I've put Screencast-O-Matic up here just as an example. Always, in my opinion, check out the company's tutorials first. Often it's not very good. Often companies don't actually invest time in making user-friendly operation manuals, if you like. They seem to just forget that part of the process. And actually they rely on people going on creating YouTube videos for showing you how to use their products, which to me is quite strange, but that is the way it often is. However, there are exceptions. Screencast-O-Matic is one of them. It has an incredible tutorial library, which is really succinct and tells you exactly how to do stuff really, really easily. So have a look at that. For example, any editing, any sort of use of their screen recorder, screen player, it's all in there really succinctly. So means you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So it's a really useful resource. Digiturati Academy, this is a paid for service. It's about 150 quid to sign, $150 to sign up, $85 a month or $850 a year. It isn't cheap. However, if you've got somebody that is trying to nail your social media marketing management and needs to brush up on their skills to keep up to speed, if you like, so learning how the new Facebook group algorithms work and all the rest of it, then it's a really good resource. I've looked at enough of it to know that it is quality. I've not looked at it all. And I looked at it for some specific things. I did it for a month. At that time, there was no sign-up fee, and then I cancelled it after a month. After I got what I needed, or after a couple of months maybe. So it's something that you should look at if this is something you're going into. So social media marketing, if that is something that's important to your company, this is a great resource. A lot of high quality videos on there, in my opinion. So definitely worth a look at, and probably worth a punt of a couple $100 just to see what you think of it, and download as much as you can while you've got your subscription. And the other one, which is definitely worth mentioning, is Webinar Genesis. Now, this is part of Webinar Jam. Now, the only caveat to this is we had some problems using Webinar Jam as a webinar service. They do a couple of different products, Webinar Jam and EverWebinar. Webinar Jam is a live webinar platform, and EverWebinar is their evergreen webinar platform for churning out stuff that you record and then put out at a later date on demand. And we had some technical issues with Webinar. I've tried to use it twice for 2 live webinars, and both times I had technical issues. And we decided actually to move away from it. However, loads of people use it without problems. So I don't know if there's something to do with the setup I've got, or although between the first and second attempts, I bought a totally new computer. So it's unlikely it is a hardware issue, because my new computer is pretty top of the range. So I found it clunky, and some of the clients had problems logging in, and similar problems on both events. So I'm just giving that caveat because Webinar Genesis is only, as far as I know, available for people if you subscribe to Webinar Jam. However, it's only $450 a year for Webinar Jam. And a lot of big professional people use it for a webinar service. So if you're thinking about using Webinar, so it's probably worth checking that out first, just to get access to Webinar Genesis, which is basically a total, what's the word? Course, if you like, a massive tutorial section on how to set up, promote, write, present, give amazing webinars which actually convert into sales. A little bit American, but still huge amounts of value in there, and something I really highly rate. And interestingly, once we paid for our initial year, we then actually, after that expired, They've not knocked us out of Webinar Genesis yet, so that's quite a nice. We've got that. It seems to be indefinitely, but I hate saying that because maybe they're going to cut us off at any point. But it's quite a nice access to that, to be able to have that resource when I want to dip in and get some hints and tips on different parts of setting up brilliant webinars. Okay, so that's about it really. What we've covered is what the benefits of bothering to train your employees, your VAs, both for them, but also for you as a company. Talked about individual development plan, about thinking about things like employing employees that fill the voids in your own profile, if you like, if you're in your own personality, but also about giving people smart goals to work towards during their employment with you. And then talk about training and different resources that you can look at to see if you can find some decent material out there for whatever it is that you are going to learn. So hopefully that was useful.